See, listening to you just now, I'm not religious, but I know there's something greater pushing you. Okay. I want you to talk about it. There's something pushing you, making you do what you do,
Sure.
making you positive, even when many things around you don't seem positive.
Yeah.
Please
Thank you. It's very,
talk about that.
sure, it's a very good question. And I will say that, when my losses happened, I did struggle with my faith. So my faith for me is the center of everything that I do. And that is what motivates me. That is the reason behind my purpose. That's the source of me turning my pain into purpose. So the person I am today and the person that people see is all linked back to my Christian faith and my personal walk with God. But what the interesting thing was that when I had the losses, I mean, I've been through, disappointments and, as a younger lady, failing my A-level exams. I've been through change, leaving Nigeria, coming here on my own and starting life on my own. Navigating, choosing college, finding, and all of that. There were challenges, finding a job, and leaving home, without my parental support. But I was lucky that I had uncles and cousins that, even though not living with me, but they were there, in terms of supporting, and also the church family I joined. But losing my babies was, I think that's that is the greatest catastrophe that can happen to me. I don't think
Mm,
anything else can match that. I don't think anything, else can come to that level. And I believe that because I was able to get through that, for me, coming out on the other side, for me, I believe I can get through anything in life. So
yeah.
nothing else, is at that level. So I believe that if I could get through that, everything else, what I learned from that process, I can get through anything else. But the major issue for me then was, why did God allow all of this to happen to me?
Mm,
Where
mm,
was he in the midst of all of this? I felt he really abandoned me. I felt he wasn't there. I was expecting maybe, okay, there'll be a miracle. My baby will wake up, or they'll tell me there was, something, some miracle happened. Anyway, I just was hoping for some miracle. But when it didn't happen, and we actually laid our children to rest, and they were being buried, that was when it sunk that, what, this is final, and they're not coming back, and there's no
yeah.
miracle. And then I had to grapple with all those questions. And it was that journey, of asking questions, of reflecting, of trying to find answers, of reading, of searching, that actually helped me decide, what do I truly believe. So my memoir that I wrote was actually titled "If Only" initially, and I wrote it and I kept it, in the drawer for like 12 years. I just didn't
Don't
feel.
worry. You have a chance to tell us
Yeah.
about that very soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, but the book was called something totally different, and I didn't feel like it was time to release it. But when I did, I felt the title had to change, and
Mm,
it was called Believe. And I realized that throughout my story, it was all about that inner conflict of, what do I truly believe,
yeah.
and I think I was able to get answers to that question, and that's the reason why I still believe. Otherwise, I would have walked away from everything that I grew up with, and I totally stood by. So it's my faith that kind of embodies everything. And I've come to understand that having a faith doesn't mean that you won't go through challenges. Having a faith doesn't mean that bad things won't happen.
Yep.
Having a faith doesn't mean that God doesn't love you or that you're abandoned by God. But it does mean that in the midst of all of that, He's always there by our sides and He'll never
Yep.
leave us. And that, indeed, good things can come out of bad things. So yeah, so I think for me that is what embodies all that I do and who
Mm,
I am and what I stand for.
wow. Thank you, Funke. See, the more I talk to you, the more I'm glad I'm talking to you. Okay, because you bring personal story to make this very real. My sister-in-law is a consultant here in London who cares for premature babies. Okay, so she does She works with people like yourself and your second baby. That's what she does every day. And my childhood neighbor and best friend for years. What do you ladies call it? Your doctor,
Is it gynecologist or?
gynecologist. Yes,
Okay.
in University of Ibadan. Okay,
Okay.
she's a professor there. So I have people who work with ladies on these issues, but unlike them, they cannot bring this personal, real personal story like yours. Okay, my best friend never had issues with her own kids. She has three lovely children, but you have these stories that I believe strongly will help a lot of other women.